everybody. I'd like to go ahead and call to order the Nevada Commission for the Reconstruction of the V&T Railway. It is 9:01 a.m. It's Wednesday, July 24th, 2024, and we are here at the Carson City Community Center, Robert Bob Kroll Boardroom. Could I get a call to order, please? No, how about a roll call? Yeah, I already did that. So you guys got me all flustered. Could I get a roll call, please?
Chair Peterson,
Present.
Vice Chair Mitchell,
I'm here.
Treasurer Cruz,
Here.
Secretary Hicks,
Here.
Commissioner Schmitter. A quorum is present.
Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to agenda item 3. If everybody could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everybody. We'll move on to agenda item 4, public comment. Anybody in the room wish to make a public comment? All right. Seeing nobody taking that up, we will move on to agenda item 5 for possible action, approval of the minutes of the June 26, 2024 meeting. And I should mention, this is late material. You all received that from Sherry, and we will get this posted to the website later today. So it is at the back of the room as well. Any edits on the minutes? Anybody want to make a motion then on the minutes front?
I move to approve the minutes of June 26, 2024.
Thank you for that motion, Stephanie. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Great, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the minutes? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great, motion carries unanimously. All right, we'll move on to agenda item 6 for possible action, discussion and possible action regarding the V&T Commission's statement of accounts payable checks paid June 1st through the 30th, 2024. The checks are totaling $74,233.81 for the month of June. Any questions on the checks? I will just say we just approved this week some additional invoices that will go back against fiscal 24. So it's just the weird break between the fiscal years. So when all is said and done in the audit, there'll be some more expenditures besides what we see on these next 2 items. Any questions? Anybody want to do a motion on this one?
I move to approve the payable checks in the amount totaling $74,233.81 paid June 1st through the 30th of 2024.
Great, Leah, thank you for that motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion on the checks payable? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great, motion carries unanimously. All right, thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 7 for possible action, discussion and possible action regarding the adjusted V&T Commission's fiscal year 23-24 budget reports for the period ended June 30th, 2024. The comparative statement has adjusted revenue totaling $1,773,864.60, with expenses totaling $1,483,475.20. Any concerns, questions on, I want to say our final budget report, but obviously it'll change just a little bit with the expenditures that are coming through. And then I'm not sure on revenue, if there were any last minute revenues that might get pushed back into 24. So, but I would say this is a pretty good look at where we'll end, which I'm pleased, with the numbers.
Yeah, any year we don't bankrupt the institution. I think is a good
Exactly.
one.
It's good. Yeah.
I did have, just trying to put the pieces together as far as kind of, if you will, profit from operations versus other things. I know we did finish collecting some money in this fiscal on the sale of Draco. And I'm trying to remember what the balance was on that. I remember it being around just under 70,000 or something in that range. Unfortunately, I think it may be lumped in with other equipment sales or something like that. So
I think you're right.
We don't have Sherry here to.
Yeah, Clay, I think you're right. I think it's a part of that 118 rounded, because we did bring in more. If I recall, we didn't get paid what we should have been paid in fiscal 23. So when we finalized that, it all went into 24, but I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Mihaela, do you remember if that 117, was that the full amount from Draco? I feel like that was the amount.
Could be.
I think it is the whole thing, Clay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not that it shouldn't have been in fiscal 24, but because of all the money that we didn't get in 23,
Yep.
I think that was the final
Okay.
amount.
Okay,
So-
great. And then I noticed we had originally budgeted on the expense side quite a bit for PEX casual labor, and I'm assuming that rolled into a different category, possibly professional services, PEX.
I think so.
I do remember when we were going over the budget for this year, talking about that with, unfortunately Sherry's not here to back me
Yeah.
up, but I do vaguely remember a conversation about that the stuff was getting paid out of a different line item than what it was budgeted to.
And that could be due to shift with Tom, where Tom's contract is, and Candy
That's
and you guys
exactly it.
obviously helping us through PEX. I think that's why it's split off, perhaps.
Well, yeah, although I'm looking at train service, and that came in pretty close to budget. There's not a big chunk there. That was pretty right on.
Mhm.
And so it looks like I'm looking at the professional services line, and it looks like we came in 63,000, 64,000 more than anticipated. Still better than if that's where it ended up, still better than the 104 that we budgeted originally.
Right.
Um,
When you say 104, Clay, do you mean the 134?
um,
Or am I looking at the wrong line?
Oh,
you're up
second
top.
line down. Casual
Oh,
labor
casual,
PEX
not- oh, okay.
was originally budgeted for 104, and we didn't attribute anything to that line item in this budget.
Right. Makes me wonder, maybe we put Carla's down below too.
Mhm.
I wonder if that's what we shifted it to.
Yeah, that's.
Professional services PEX for Carla as well.
I think that's the thought,
Okay.
and we didn't budget anything for PEX operating supplies. There's a little chunk there. There are kind of a few things. Bank credit card fees were super low on PEX. Anyway,
Yeah.
it just ended, the final look ended up a little bit, and then special event expenses was a fair amount higher. So it looks like we're fairly close to what was budgeted. It's just split up in different categories than we had originally
Yeah.
looked at. But then if you back out, and I want to back out non-recurring revenues and things, so we have an idea of how we did on the operations side.
Mhm.
Even backing out that 118 from Draco, it's still 170,000 in the black for the year, give or take.
Yeah.
Not a bad year overall.
No, I agree, and I mean, I think that's a byproduct of expanding Polar, right? And then we changed some stuff up with the fourth car, I think, which benefited us greatly, and a slight change in the regular schedule as well with some additional trains. So I think,
Yeah.
I think our adjustments worked really well
Yeah.
heading into the fiscal, and then what we discussed back in February as well.
Yeah.
Should set us up pretty well for this fiscal 25.
Well,
run.
I think the current structure between our different contractors is a bit more efficient than it was in years
Agreed.
past, right? And as far as who's taking on what responsibilities and being able to do those efficiently.
Totally agree.
My only comment on this, to kind of go off of what you're saying, is there's also, I think the usage of these buckets was changed somewhat, and that also goes into play with the transition from the last,
Oh, right.
from before Sherry to Sherry doing it. So there's always gonna be some growing pains in how we,
Sure.
where we pay things out of and stuff. So I think that's part of it too. So, but I think overall, we look pretty good.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. I'm pleased. For sure.
Do we have an idea what our cash position is, cash balance?
I don't feel comfortable.
Okay.
I would throw a number out, but
No, it's quite all
I
right.
don't know if it's correct to take what came from the audit and then just assume it's the difference between these two numbers. But I've got to believe we should have like 700,000 to 800,000, right? Because we didn't pull, when we did the augmentation, we didn't take money from reserve, right? Didn't we just shift it around again between the buckets?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would think we should have, 600 to 800.
So my thought is maybe, and I don't, I have kind of a visceral reaction to balance sheets because they don't make sense to me the way that the cash flow statement does. But I think maybe at least once a year or so, we should take a look at that
For sure.
and look at our assets and liabilities and those things. And then it may be worth agendizing for a future meeting a discussion around a policy on how much cash, how much to retain in the account and how much is then available to be budgeted into projects or something else. So some sort of a policy around reserves.
Yeah, that's a nice idea.
So we're not just accumulating without any sort of idea of what we're going to do with it.
Do you think it would be best to wait till we get the audit to see, or do you want to do something, just like a rough estimate, of where we think we're at when all the expenses clear this month for last fiscal?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in a hurry.
Okay.
More than anything, I think I see it as a tool for us when we go into the next budget cycle and strategic plan review and those kind of things to really get a feeling of where we are and what we could commit to improvements.
That sounds great. That's a great idea. Any other comments on the June budget report? Okay, anybody want to do
I have,
yeah.
I have
Oh,
one
no,
last
yeah.
comment. And,
Please, please.
I know we're looking at this pretty sterilely, but really this performance financially is a reflection of the hard work of a lot of people.
Agreed.
Both some of you here on the board and then also our fine people that work with us. And so I just want to acknowledge that because it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's due to everyone doing an excellent job. So thank you.
Oh, agreed. And our vendors, Candy, you're right, front and center in this thing. So I think we went through a lot of changes, and so shifting these things and splitting everything up, I think it did work out financially in our best interest, from the commission side of things. So, plus I think operationally, things were a lot more efficient as well. So you're going to take all the credit. And Melissa's here too, in the marketing. So I think it all came together because I think we did a little better job with the marketing and our social media efforts, around ticketing. And so, yeah, no, thanks, you guys. Good work. Yeah, go ahead. If you want to do it, do it.
I move to approve the budget reports as presented.
Thank you for that motion, Leah. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Thank you, Clay. Any further discussion on this particular item? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. Motion carries unanimously. With that, Melissa, we will move on to agenda item 8 for discussion only. Discussion and presentation regarding fiscal year 23-24 fall spring media campaign recap. So Melissa Dietz from Dietz Media and Marketing is going to talk us through last fiscal year. Oh, yeah, no. Unless anybody wants to scold Melissa.
Unfortunately, it's for discussion only. It's not an
okay.
action item. So
All right, Melissa Dietz for the record. Today I'm going to go over what we've done this past fiscal year with our marketing budget. This specifically applies to paid media, not to social media. I think Regina's done a fantastic job on her end with that, and I'm glad she does that part. So this is going to come in 2 sections because we have our fall campaign and we have our spring campaign. So I'm just going to address each of these particular campaigns because they were a little bit different. With our fall campaign, we ran this during September and October, and our budget was just, it was actually $15,000, so I came in just a little bit under budget there at $14,999.71. So, yoo-hoo! With our outdoor, typically what we do with our outdoor is we like to have that exposure in the market, but we want to try and be in different places, so we're hitting different audiences. So with this particular campaign, we had 3 outdoor posters, and these are the smaller 10-foot by 22-foot posters. So you see those big 14 by 48-foot bulletins. These are essentially those cut in half. So it's just a great little way for us to get our brand in the market without having to pay those exceptional costs for the larger bulletins. So with that, on our 4-week flight, we estimate that we delivered 522,512 impressions based on the traffic that ran through, Prater Way and Kitski Lane and South Virginia Street. With the second part of our campaign was television. And we had been and continued in the fall to run these 4-second, 5-second, depending on which station, these little billboards that they had, and these 10-second spots. The reason, again, that we were trying to do this is we have a conservative budget. So again, it was just trying to get the name out there without having to buy 30-second commercials on ABC, NBC, and CBS. And with that, the campaigns delivered as we ordered them, and they delivered an estimated 2.9 million impressions with a 41.4% reach and a 12.2 time frequency, which is pretty high over that short time period. And the last part of our media mix is the online, which included both search and display. I have to say we have a really good digital guy who just kind of goes above and beyond with what he does for search. It's the same guy, incidentally, that does Virginia City. So while we did a great job, I think overall the one thing that stood out to me was our paid search, which drove 929 of our 1,085 clicks, and had a 34.63% click-through rate. As I wrote here to put this into perspective, we look at Google and what their benchmarks are from year to year, just to make sure that we're hitting or exceeding those goals. And with that, the closest marker that we could find or sector that we could find that would match up to what we were doing were both travel and arts and entertainment. We kind of thought maybe a combination of the two. So for travel, there's a 10.03% click-through rate, and for arts and entertainment, there's an 11.78 click-through rate as their benchmark. And clearly we blew that out of the water, coming in at 34.63%. Yay to Nick, our digital guy. So, and then also we were excited that our cost per click was lower than what they had. So they had $1.55 and $1.63, and we came in at 26 cents. So a great digital campaign. We're happy with that. We are, again, happy that Regina is on that side also supporting us with social. I just feel like those items and working together in partnership just really leverage everything that we're spending. So with that, our fall campaign, we estimate delivered almost 3.5 million impressions, which is pretty darn good. Yeah. And then in the spring, we came out first with our Mother's Day campaign and then came back into our general branding campaign. With this, our budget was a little bit higher, so we were able to go in and actually buy 4 outdoor locations. So we had our Mother's Day posters posted starting on April 15th, and that ran for 4 weeks. And we really did set that up specifically to back into Mother's Day to be able to take down these boards the next day. With that, we had 1.4 million impressions on the first flight. And then the second flight, again, we had 4 locations, and we had 1.073 million impressions there. Our goal was to hit at least 800,000 impressions, so we exceeded what that was. The outdoor company we work with is really good, and they generally exceed what our goals are. Again, with television, we worked with ABC, NBC, CBS. We looked at morning, evening, and late and weekend news. This time we changed. We ran a 15-second spot versus a 4, 5, or 10. Part of that was because the 10-second spots, with coming into a political year, another advertiser came in and bought up everything. And it just didn't give us a lot of wiggle room. We ended up getting a great spot from David that we didn't have before, so we were able to run these 15s. With that, we were still able to deliver 1.33 million impressions with a 78.6% reach and a 9.7 time frequency. Our frequency was a little bit lower, which is fine because we kind of wanted to expand our reach on that. As long as we're exceeding, technically the old, point was 3 time frequency. These days, media is spread out so thin with digital and social and all that. We like to hit at least 5 times. 5 to 7 is great. So I don't mind dialing back the 12 time frequency to get to 9 to be able to expand our reach. And then the other part of our media mix here that we didn't do in the fall was radio. We had set up a package with Reno Media Group that owns all of these stations that are noted here. And what they do is they basically give you a 15-second spot that runs across these 9 stations. We run 14 spots a week on each of these. With that, we estimate that we delivered 1.43 million impressions. And then again, with our online, with our search and display, our search had a 24.66% click-through rate. Darn it, It's a little bit lower, but it blows out the goals of Google, so we'll take it. And our cost per click was still pretty low at 31 cents. So a little bit higher, but still well below the benchmarks there. Our YouTube campaign delivered over 104,000 impressions with a 99.69% view completion rate. So the way we set that up is we set that up so it's unskippable. Those really annoying ones where it's like, sorry, not this particular one's not annoying, but we do like to set it up that way because it's not a super long spot, and we just want people to sit through it and kind of have that message soak in a little bit more. So for this campaign, we delivered 4,689 clicks and 2,348 impressions. So with that, between our outdoor TV, radio, and our online efforts, we delivered over 5.5 million impressions for the spring campaign. That's all we have, and it's not even 9:30.
Oh, wow. Huh. Huh.
Aha.
No, nice work. I like what you guys did, and it's great to see us exceeding the benchmarks. I think that's
Yeah.
wonderful. So
Yeah.
I have a question. So coming into the fall, being
Mhm.
this lovely political season that we're in,
Yeah.
thoughts about, I'm sure costs are going to be driven up and it's going to be a lot of political ads going on. So what's the plan of attack to kind of get us through the end of the season in October?
So I don't have a budget yet, so that is where I would want to start.
Okay.
We should be fine on posters, but we should get those
Okay.
booked sooner rather than later. I happen to have a couple political candidates, and we are signing contracts. We were signing them Friday, and I'm signing them today.
Okay.
Inventory is incredibly tight. There's just a ton of money with Nevada being a swing state.
Yeah.
There's so much money coming in here. And I also think with now the changes with Harris stepping up and all that
Yeah.
money pouring in, again, it's just going to be a dump here. So
Okay.
if we can get our outdoor locked in, television, I think is going, even if we had the money to do it, I would recommend taking it off the table because it's
Okay.
going to fall into the middle of such noise.
Yeah.
Those
just get
commercial,
lost.
we're going to go into a commercial break. It's going to start off with a political message, and people are going to just turn the channel. So
Right.
radio, that's where I've recommended most of my clients go. It's like, just turn it over to radio. We'll just run more radio, and we can run more online, and just really, I think that's kind of where we need to focus. I'm trying to think if there's any place else I'd want to go. I think, obviously if we could have Regina do more social media, and if we have to turn some of that budget over to her to help her do her job, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, that's not I'm thinking, because we're kind of going to be in the same position, I think, as on the DMO side, to shift some more into the paid social, right? Just to kind of get out
Yeah.
of that political clutter,
Yep.
nonsense and everything that's going on. So I do like that idea. I don't know how Leah feels about that. What I would say on the budget, and Leah can correct me if I'm wrong, but when you guys put the fiscal 25 budget together, I do believe we assumed the same spend
Okay.
in aggregate for the full fiscal year. So what we had budgeted last year, they carried that. So I think that's the 100, is that 100K, right? I think basically so just think the
Okay.
budget is literally the exact same budget this current fiscal year as
Okay.
it was last year.
Okay.
Because I think I remember asking that question during the final budget meeting. So kind of work around that.
Okay.
And one thing I would like to say, and I'm hoping, I just texted Regina, so I'm hoping she's coming on the WebEx, but Melissa and Regina did a really good job, and Candy, you guys, were great with between the newsletters and the social, and kind of like working together to shift dollars and everything, because we were trying to bump up Sundays, because we're a little short on some of the Sunday ticketing versus Saturday. And so it seems to me that people are even more last minute maybe than they were last year we're seeing this in Carson City as well, and
Okay.
all the information we're getting, it's like 2 days, 3 days before the weekend, and people are just deciding, oh, we're going to take the train, right? So maybe in the past we had a higher ridership percentage, the week before or the beginning of the week of that forthcoming weekend. Now it seems like it's just happening at the end. I don't know, Katie, if I'm right, but almost like at the end of the week, now send a bunch of ticket sales. So we've been trying to time that, or you guys have been trying to time that with the advertising efforts, with the social media as well, just to kind of get the last minute, pushes out there because people just seem to be, oh, we'll ride the train this morning or whatever, or tomorrow morning or whatever the case may be. So yeah, so I appreciate the flexibility that
Actually,
you
I
all
think
had.
I had nothing to do with this last round of that. That was all Regina, but I appreciate
yeah.
the feedback because that's something like that, even that last minute, hey, can we do this push? That's
Yeah.
not something that we had before.
Right,
So I think
right.
we're ready to pivot whenever we need to. We just need the information. So thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah, yeah. I think, and so Candy, I'm thinking, make sure, because I think I've been forwarding the stuff. So
Yep.
if you will add to Regina and Melissa on the distribution that you're doing to the team that goes out, if that's okay. Yeah, because I was forwarding them just to, hey, here's where we're at. What can we do to shift at the last minute? And Leah, if you have any thoughts on that too, but it's makes me nervous going into the weekend, but we seem to pick up a lot of sales, basically that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to cover the trains relative to when you push your initial emails out, Candy. So I don't know, just last minute, I guess how people are doing things.
I think it used to be that we would sit there and say, oh, nobody's going to do anything until 2 weeks out. And I agree with you. Now it does. And I have
Yeah.
a number of events, campaigns, and the clients are panicking. And I was like, I'm sorry. They're
Yeah.
coming. I swear they're coming.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
two
think
days
you're
out is
spot
probably
on.
the decision time now, not 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, no, great, right. Sorry, I won't hog all the, anybody have any questions or comments for Melissa?
I do. Melissa, going into next year, where do you see opportunities for us as we look at either what we could do more of or what we could do? I mean, I know you talked a little bit about broadening the reach on some of the
Right.
TV stuff and what have you, but curious what other opportunities, and the answer could be as simple as more budget, but where? And
Right.
does that make sense?
It does. So I think one of the places the opportunity is that we're not going to be fighting that political headwind next year. So we'll have a little bit more flexibility. I think having more time to plan earlier, because usually especially with traditional media, the first person in is the last person out. So if I were to book a spot for $100 and somebody else comes in 3 months from now and books a spot for $100, if something happens, they're going to get bumped out first. So I think the lead time is good. I would like to get a little bit further ahead on the creative if we have to make creative changes, that if we could do that, not at the last minute. I think, traditional doesn't change a whole lot. I mean, TV's TV and radio is radio and outdoor is outdoor. I think the space where it will change quite a bit is in digital media, and just not necessarily what we're seeing, but how we buy it so that we can try and buy it the most efficient way that we can. YouTube, not only YouTube video, but one of the other things that we're doing for some other events is YouTube audio. So you think of Spotify and of Pandora when you're thinking of streaming audio. And YouTube audio is not the biggest player, but they're making big strides. And what I like about it is that it's music, like the platform is music, but they play your video just like they would for a YouTube ad. So we've seen some good gains with that. And I think it's just kind of going back and looking at it and seeing, is there something else there? We have some clients where we run TikTok, and we have other ones where they're like, we don't need it. We'll just buy around it. So, geez, I'm trying to think if there's something else.
Is there any opportunity in the podcast space?
So there is actually, and we do that, and we can work that out with our providers, where we can go in, and if we want to, we can request specifically to run in podcast, trying to get in like as a podcast sponsor, like a Joe Rogan type thing. We can't do that, but we can work with Pandora and Spotify, or not with those two. They are part of the platform that we buy through, to where we could say we specifically want to buy a podcast. We could go in and say we specifically want to buy a podcast that people over the age of 35 with, these sort of travel and tourism interest or arts and culture interest, we can go in and target that heavily. So I think it would just come back down to what you said with budget, as going, okay, if the budget's the same, where do we want to peel off to make that happen? And, part of this is just kind of trial and error. You test it and just go, oh, that didn't quite work the way that we were hoping.
Perfect. Thank you.
I have a question too. I know we have a very tight, small budget, but do you think it would behoove us to look at the Highway 50 corridor maybe get into Sacramento or at least east of Sac, either on 80 and on 50. Is that, I don't know if we just don't have maybe the money to do that, but I'm just wondering if we expand out a little bit, move. I don't know if we're saturating, sort of 50 miles and in or not. Part of me thinks we're, even with the numbers you presented, we may not be, but I'm just
Right.
thinking about growing ridership. Plus, selfishly, on the DMO side of things, it'd be nice to get somebody to stay overnight.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. But that's what us in Virginia City has been doing more, is pushing out
Yeah.
to the Sac area,
Yeah.
Bay Area, things like that.
Yeah.
Yep. So we do have clients where we are looking more at Sacramento and San Jose. San Jose just drives a ton of traffic up here for some reason. So
Yeah.
we could certainly look into it, but it would have to be a budget add-on. It is one of
Okay.
those that I'm trying to think off the top of my head of what it is that we would have to spend, and I think it's probably $4,000 to $5,000 a month
Okay.
to do something like that. So if we tried to do that with this budget, we would cut
Yeah,
in so
we'd burn it.
hard on our local. But, it's something to think about, and I can provide those numbers to you so you can get a better idea. One of the good things that we're doing in Sacramento with one of our vendors is so now outdoors also kind of turning, so, okay, I'm trying to think of how to explain it. So with digital media, you go in and you buy it programmatically, almost like you do the stock market. You don't have to, but you can. This is where you get the great deals. So you would go in and say, hey, I want to bid on this and I only want to pay a $2 cost per thousand. What inventory can I get? Well, outdoor is also starting to do that, which is nice because normally we would not be able to go play in that market because they would say you have to buy it for 4 weeks and you have to pay this and there's no wiggle room. Well, now these outdoor companies are starting to hold some of their digital inventory and they are selling it at this programmatic level. So I can go in and say, okay, I want to do this, but I only want to pay a $3 cost per thousand. What do you have? And so we can negotiate that a little bit better. So we have an entry that we could get into that we in the past wouldn't have been able to get into. It's going to be a factor of budget.
Okay. Well, and Clay, picking up on what you had said about agendizing something for the future around a policy around cash reserves, I look at it as an opportunity for the commission to make an additional investment in our marketing efforts and not at the expense of cutting something else, that's a line item, but maybe tapping into those reserves perhaps. And so it might be a good discussion for the retreat. I mean, and then we could augment the budget, of course, whatever the case may be for this fiscal year, but then build some of that into 26, through the budget process as well. So, because Leah's right, the two of us are, we've been in the SAC market in Bay Area for some time on the Visit Carson City side of things, but this is a slightly different message, right? Because our messaging would be an aggregate, just not specifically only about the train, but I think if it complements our respective efforts, that wouldn't be a bad. I'm
Right.
thinking Mark Twain, although that got a little squirrely because
Right.
so many players involved. But if we could coordinate our efforts together, I think that'd be super beneficial.
That would be great if we could look at that and say, okay, this is what you're doing for Visit Carson City. This is
Yeah.
what we're doing for Virginia City. We
Yeah.
want to be on those same boards and kind of have that same rotation
Yeah.
to where it's like, oh, there's that and there's
And
that
this,
and there's
and we
just
could ride
all
the
these other
train.
things that we can do while we're there.
Yeah.
I will say the media gets hit with inflation just like everybody else. So at this point, the same budget, we're going to get 10 eggs instead of a dozen. It's just,
All
it's
right.
not pretty.
Clay has some out in the backyard with the chicken coop, so yeah. Yo, 10 chickens. Well, that's like
Right.
400 eggs
Right.
right there. Wow. Yeah. Now there's plenty of money coming your way, Melissa. Don't
Right.
worry about it.
Fabulous. I need 2 more eggs.
Yeah, yeah. Why are you just looking at Clay? That was great, though. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, good.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
All right, you're welcome.
Appreciate that. Any other questions for Melissa? Well, thank you for the presentation. Keep up the good work. and-
Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. So I see, Regina, you are on. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you?
Oh, perfect. Okay, Melissa, could
Yes,
I
I
ask
can.
you to
Hi.
switch over? Would you? So, Regina, Melissa's going to scroll as you go through your presentation. So let me open this up.
Oh, perfect.
So okay, thank you. We're moving on to agenda item 9 for discussion only. Discussion and presentation regarding the fiscal year 23-24 social media recap. So Regina Flores with Lumont Media is going to go through this last fiscal year. And Regina, Melissa is going to just scroll. I don't know if you can see the screen. Do you see that? So you can, Just tell
I
her to
do,
keep
yes.
scrolling. Okay, perfect. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Regina, and I'll just let you kind of tell
Great.
Melissa to scroll as you see fit.
Okay, thank you, David. Hi, everyone. I am Regina with Lumont Media. I'll be going over social media recap, comparing 2022, 2023 to 2023, 2024. So these are the Instagram metrics. For people reached, there was a 128% increase. Content interactions, which is essentially any comments, likes, shares, saves, that sort of metric, there was a 44% increase. And followers, there was 304 new followers. And then in this next page, we can see some of I took the 5 top performing posts. So the top performing posts, 3 out of the 5 were video. The other ones were either related to the Polar Express or just a general fun, cute post. So the one that performed the best here in the top left corner is one of the Polar Express. I believe this is one of the initial announcements back in September of last year. The second top performing post was one of the first video reels that I did for the VT. It was a general fun, look at us, look at our offerings post, and it performed very well with 1,700 people reach and 176 interactions or content, comments, likes, shares, that sort of thing. The third most best performing post was another Polar Express post. And then the fourth one was we tried something with one of the trendy videos. So basically you take a little clip and you put it into one of the, this one's called CapCut, but it gives you fun little prompts. So we tried that and it did perform very well with 864 interactions, or people reached, and 115 interactions. And then the fifth performing post was another video. So this was taken from the video content that was provided to me from the commission. And it had 861 people reached with 50 interactions. And then in this next page, I go over my analysis of why we were up in all of the metrics. So one of the things that was implemented was consistency, and that's key to any social media strategy. So I maintained a social media calendar with a regular posting schedule 3 times per week for main posts and stories throughout the week as well. The stories included things like fun facts, polls. We put links in the stories. We essentially used all of the different elements offered by Instagram to maximize our reach and engagement. We also implemented content variety. So there were various different types of content. Carousels are those posts that include different photos in the same post so that you can scroll and look at the different photos. We also included just regular still photos. We included graphics, so a photo with text over it. And then of course, videos and reels, which was my main focus that I wanted to expand on for the VT Instagram. And now that we have even more content from the most recent photo shoot that we did with my colleague Lauren, we'll be able to get even more video content on there and continue to grow the page. And all of this content variety ensure the ongoing engagement and reduce fatigue. You don't want the same type of content on there every single time. You don't just want photos, you don't just want graphics, you want variety. So that's what I tried to do in this past year. Also used, again, all of the different Instagram features to optimize the algorithm, because the algorithm will sort of rule you down if you keep posting the same thing. So you need to keep it kind of fresh and new with GIFs, links, polls, music. You can add music to the posts. So testing out different Instagram features really allowed us to keep it consistently fresh and consistently reaching new people. And then again, out of my analysis, 3 out of the 5 posts that performed the best were video. So that means that more and more video is going to keep the page growing, and Instagram favors reels over posts. So the more video content that we have, the better it is for growth. And then in the next page, I go over Facebook. So the VT is on Instagram and Facebook. Facebook is the platform where we have the most followers and get the most reach and engagements. So in the past year, And by the way, I measured from June to June. In the past year, they were about 230,000 people reached compared to the previous quarter, which would have been June 2022 to June 2023. That was a 228% increase, which is huge. And that also has to do a lot with the strategies that were implemented, which I'll get into in one of the next slides. For content interactions, there were 653,900, which is almost a 300% increase. So that, again, similar to Instagram, is the content interactions include things like shares, comments, likes, anything that people interact on your post with, that is considered a content interaction. And then right now we're sitting at 17,200 followers. In that period, we gained about 374. So that takes into account anyone that follows you and then all of the unfollows. 374 is the new follows. And then in the next page, I show the top 5 performing posts for that period. So for the past year. On Facebook, it's a little bit different than Instagram as to what performs best. Facebook tends to favor posts that have more educational aspects, if you will. Instagram is more for those fun little videos and little reels and things like that. Facebook, because people want to share what they have on their feed, you need to give it a little bit more substance. So on Facebook, the posts that I saw performing best were those fun facts, those historical facts, and then still some engaging, fun, pretty photos, and then graphics also. So these were the top 5. And as you can see, it is a lot of different variety because some are graphics with text over them, some are just photos, some are one post with multiple photos. So Facebook, like Instagram, does favor having variety instead of just using one photo for every single post. And a sort of newer feature on Facebook is that they also have the reels. They're trying to bring them over to Facebook. So I not only post them on Instagram, I'm also sharing them on Facebook to keep it diverse and keep up with Facebook's new feature so that the algorithm favors us. And then in the next slide, I go over my analysis. So again, it's about consistently and maintaining that social media calendar with at least 3 posts per week. And that also does not include any posts that are shared from other accounts and the engagement that we do on other accounts. So the VT follows Visit Carson City, Virginia City, other trains throughout the country. And as the social media manager, I engage with those accounts so that they see us and that we're also showing up on their feed. And then in exchange, they'll be more likely to interact with our content as well. Keeping the content engaging, throwing in those historic fun facts, throwing in questions so that people are more inclined to comment on the posts, having multiple photos and then the graphics, that all has ensured consistent engagement that I've seen and will continue to see on the VT Facebook page. And then leveraging, again, all the Facebook features and the collaboration, so tagging other businesses, like tagging Virginia City or tagging Visit Carson City or tagging the VT Railroad, all of that helps with increasing engagement on a continuous basis. And then also Facebook, we get messages. Most of our messages come on Facebook rather than Instagram. So making sure that those get responded to in a timely manner within 24 hours. So constantly checking the inbox, making sure that everybody's questions are addressed. And then for my analysis of the top performing posts, again, it was more of that informational, educational posts and the aesthetic photos, of course, because people want those on their feed. And this last slide is a recap of some of the media coverage that we got in the past year. So these 3 articles announcing the Mother's Day train, announcing the Memorial Day weekend train, and then the Mark Twain train. And then on the right-hand side are a couple of the examples from eBlast that I've helped get out to the VT clientele. And that is everything. I will open it up for any questions anyone might have.
Any questions, comments for Regina? I would just say, great job, honestly. I appreciate you really diving in on this. And the consistency, I think, is critical, right? Not just this, in the past, maybe we had some sporadic not faulting anybody, but it was sort of hit and miss. So now we have, I think, some consistent messaging. And I don't know, Regina, if you heard my comments earlier about the flexibility that you and Melissa and last minute nature of people now booking the train, not 2 weeks out, but maybe a day or two out. So you doing some last minute pushes and posts and shifting, some things around on the paid social side, I think has just been great. So I say keep up the good work on that front as well. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Go ahead, Clay,
I have
please.
I have a question. Melissa, if you could just go to the second page. Regina, can you comment on just the shape of the trend, so to speak? We had a pop there. Is that just the push into the new season? What are we seeing there on that trend?
Yeah, that is when I saw a little bit more traction on the page, because from the Polar Express until May, the only really train ride offered was the Polar Express. So then in May, once I started posting about the new season and when those tickets would become available, that's when people started to share a little bit more of our posts and comment a little bit more, asking questions. So that would kind of explain that spike there. So that's something that we'll probably see seasonally, is going from like this to this as soon as ticket sales are announced for the season.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Thank you. Do we have a presence on LinkedIn?
We do not. No, we don't have a presence on LinkedIn.
And
Not sure that it would be.
so the
Sorry,
only
go
the
ahead.
only reason I bring it up is one of our growth opportunities that I see is corporate charters, special trips, company retreats, that kind of stuff. And I think there's an opportunity there potentially for some really targeted marketing in that area. And as much as I love full tourist trains, I love even better an entire train being paid for all in one shot instead of coming in $50 chunks. And so I don't know if that's something for the future for us to look at. I don't think it's somewhere we need to be really active, but I think maybe if we do like some case studies, we should, and then point it at human resource people, whatever the type of people that would put on corporate retreats or those type of things, maybe just with a small amount of energy, small amount of budget, and see if we can tease up, assuming we have within our mix the ability to handle that type of business. To me, that's an untapped resource. I also think there's potential for some pretty serious hotel night stays to accompany that. Anyway,
I can be selfish on this, in that Virginia City, speaking solely on that, has learned that we cannot function with really large business retreats and things like this. So this would be a perfect kind of like, oh, we can't really do that for you, but we can push it this way. So might not be a bad, I love this idea. So, yeah.
yeah, we can talk about it more in the retreat.
Sure. Regina, as long as you're on, what would be involved with setting something up? Like, do you have to go through a whole process on our behalf, or
No,
how
no.
does that work?
As far as setting up a LinkedIn page, it would not be a difficult process at all. I could get it done within like an hour. It would be a matter of having content available and all of the different information that would come with those retreats.
Okay.
And then it would just be a matter of growing the LinkedIn page, following those accounts in Northern Nevada and the surrounding regions that would be interested in that, and then just doing outreach. So probably setting up some sort of photo shoot with one of the first businesses interested, so we have something to work with.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think we may have some documentation of past that we can dig up, because it has been done before in the past, and so that we may be able to dig up some things, and I think we can probably bootstrap some of the connectivity into the region. So
Agreed. Well, and I remember we did something in the freight depot, because Zach went up and shot that, where we had the dinner. So we could, tie in not just taking the train, but also could you do something with the freight depot, have a dinner or a lunch or whatever the case may be. So Zach's got some great pictures, some footage on that.
We can all collaborate on it,
Yeah.
because I know we have stuff, we meaning Virginia City, you have stuff, we
Yeah.
have combined things that we've done together. that I know we have pictures, video, whatever of. So yeah, we can definitely. And then I'm happy to pitch in any way too, because we have a lot of already written stuff for things like
Oh,
this that I'm
beautiful.
happy to share. So
Is that something, Leah, you could work with
Yeah.
Regina on, and then
Happy to.
we could cut, you could, maybe for the next meeting or something, if you all could get together, come back and we could do a
Yeah, just give me the
presentation or
light
something,
and-
yeah. Mahale, you're good with that? Bring something back at the August meeting, and then, get some buy-in from everyone else on the commission. That would be great. I mean, yeah, if it's that, I don't wanna say simple, but
Right.
it doesn't take a month to figure something out, that's great.
Regina, I'll just reach out to you via
I love
email.
the idea.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, then you just
Perfect.
let me know,
Do
you
it.
know, what you need from us on the photo video side of things, and I'm sure that video we might have to take it off of a jump drive. Can't just email it, but whatever, however we need to get that to you. I've seen that video in the past. That was a really cool event, a really cool day, you know, for that big group that did that. So, yeah, what better way to kind of sell it, right? With having
See the
video.
idea.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. Cool. Great idea. Jeez, look at Clay. We're going to turn this guy
great.
into a CMO.
Yeah, I'm
whether He
retiring.
wants it or
I'm
not.
done.
No, you can't retire. No. You just
work
inked
here's
a
done.
12-year deal. Plus. Yeah, no, that's great. Any other comments for Regina on the social? Thank you, Regina. Good work again. Well done. Appreciate
Thank you all.
Yeah, take care. All right.
Thank-
Thank you. Melissa,
Take care.
you got to go. Yeah, thank you again. Take care. Thank you. All right, with that, we will move on to agenda item 10 for discussion only. These are our monthly non-action items. I think we'll skip 10A with, because I don't have anything to report on Sherry's behalf, and we'll just go ahead and move on to 10B, Operation Trains Report. Candy, come on up with your sling and all. Sacrifice you're making.
Good morning. For the record, Candy Duncan. And it's interesting you were the discussion about how people are waiting to the last minute. When I last looked for this coming weekend, we've got like 80 for Saturday and 40 for Sunday, which is kind of concerning to me, but I think it's weather. I think it's weather related because it has been so hot. And I've been taking lots of cancellation phone calls from people who just don't, once they hear there's no air conditioning, change their mind. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. But one good thing is that we have scheduled 2 wine trains, one for August 17th and one for September 21st, and sales are very brisk on those 2. And so, in fact, I think one of them, the first one maybe has got over 65 riders so far, and the one in September has even more. So, wine, yes.
Wine trains. Oh, yes, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Sherry has been looking for a distributor to get a good deal on the wine, and she's found someone to do some good appetizers to go with it. And so not the Civil War ladies, but the ladies that like to dress up, they are going to be our servers. So I think we're going to have couple of nice evenings. People are very excited about it. I continue to get lots of calls and questions on email about the rail bikes. And so hopefully we're going to be able to do that next year. I know everybody really wants that to come back. And then, of course, the most I'm getting now, the biggest phone call is when do Polar Express tickets go on sale? Everybody is freaking out over that, which is really good because that means we'll sell them and we'll sell them quick when they do. And we're thinking first week in September right now, I think, is what we decided. So the other thing that's interesting is you're talking about expanding the reach of the marketing from local to Bay Area, Sacramento, et cetera. We are getting an awful lot of people who are from far away, really. And I'm really happy about that, like Pennsylvania, Texas, Florida, Kentucky, all over the place. And I think a lot of the reason we're getting that is because now that we have a regular schedule that people can depend on, a lot of people, when they plan to come out here, don't plan to ride the train, but when they get here and see what we've got out there, they're very excited to do it. And even the diesels, which are still lower, people are still taking them because that's what's happening the weekend they're here, and it's better than no train at all. So I think everything is pretty positive. as far as that ridership goes. Tom has been really great about, he did a lot of repair and cleanup around the depot area, and so that's looking good. We can still use more of that, but, it's a thing in progress, but people seem to be having a great time, and I'm enjoying even one-armed handing out tickets, so the only thing is I can't work on the train for a while, but other than that, everything is going well.
Convenient with that natural air conditioning that you're not on the trains when it's 104. Okay, never mind. Remember, you're on the record here.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I will just point out that Virginia City is consistently 9 to 12 degrees cooler than down here in the
That's
valley.
true. That's
And it's
true.
important to remind people of that. This Saturday is 79 and sunny is what is
Oh my
forecast.
gosh.
So I know
Wow.
it's hard when it's been hot,
Yeah.
but I think just
Yes.
mitigating a bit.
Yes, we're so
Yes.
sorry that we're not worthy in Carson City. Yes.
Oh, it's only going to be 83 down here. So
Oh,
it's,
oh,
I
oh.
mean,
Yeah.
that's
this
okay.
weekend's
Yeah.
the one to do it.
I agree.
getting
Yeah,
better.
Candy, why do we have all these open tickets? Actually, that's not a bad push, huh?
That
On
would be
social
a
me-
good
Regina,
social media
she
push.
left us. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh,
That's right,
okay.
you do.
Will you
Yeah.
email Regina? Okay, I think that's actually great. Yeah, talk about the weather. Sub
Yeah.
80. My gosh, that's awesome. Yeah, bring a light jacket, parka. Oh my goodness gracious.
Well, it's supposed to get down to 49 at night. So
Oh, it's going to be lovely.
Wow. This
Yeah,
is
I think that would be a
great.
great Facebook, social media.
Yeah.
Get out. Yep.
Can we extrapolate a little bit on our social media? Maybe light flurries possible?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Bring the
Um,
jacket.
Yeah, Christmas in July. Yeah, I love it. So, okay, on the Polar Express front, if we go live with the tickets, we'll probably sell out in September probably because we'll be 2 weeks ahead of schedule last time. Okay, so
Right.
wow, so it'll be over.
Yeah, there's just a couple things I need to find out from Tom as far as
Okay.
inventory and names of cars, and as soon as I
Right.
get all that.
Yeah, and that little shift we were talking about.
Right.
Yeah, so not
Mhm.
to split the kids or not kids
The,
but families.
in the parlor car,
Okay.
yeah. And we've
Cool.
talked that one over, so
Good.
we're getting pretty close to being ready to go.
Do you feel comfortable maybe at our next meeting, since it's right at the end of the month, you could just give us an update on that and
Sure.
let us know how things are. Okay,
Mhm.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. And then we'll coordinate that with Regina and everybody
Right.
on the social, just to let people
Yeah.
know that they're.
I think,
yeah.
and that's important, because last year what happened was, for whatever reason, we didn't tell people they were on sale until they were already on sale.
Right.
And
Right.
this year, we really should let them know a week or so ahead of time.
I agree.
think.
yeah,
Well, yeah, that is true.
It could.
The website goes down in a heap. So, yeah, go ahead, Clay.
I was going to say maybe it's telling them ahead of time, but not with specificity. It's not 12:01 a.m., but
Oh,
it's
right.
Right.
watch for it the first week of September,
Perfect.
and then we can randomly
Yeah.
go live and then tell them they're live, so
Yeah.
people will notice over time as opposed to clicking the button over and over
Right.
again.
I like that approach. That's
And then
yeah.
we do collect all those email addresses. And so
Yes.
that's another thing, is to get that email out
Yep.
to all those people that I have promised if they put in their information, they would find out. So
Yes. Yeah. So you're
Nice.
right. Outside of social, we'll also do a newsletter, and maybe we should do that newsletter the last week of August, perhaps.
Yep.
Once we know. I mean, you can
Right.
update us on the 28th, but
Yeah.
I would say at least, don't you think 7 to 10 days before we think they're going to go live? Although we would say first week. Yeah. Let's do that.
Oh, they are.
Oh yeah, they're probably bookmarking it, So, no, but that's great though. I mean, that we have that demand for PES.
Absolutely.
So, cool. Okay. Thank you for that update. Any questions for Candy on anything else? And the depot, yeah, I appreciate the work. I told Tom that's going on up there with the cleanup and getting things fixed. It's just great. Yes, it's an ongoing
It
thing.
is,
I
doesn't
realize that.
stop.
But yeah, but I appreciate the effort that you all are putting in
Right.
to making the depot look as good as we can make it look, under the circumstances. So thank you. Great. Okay. If there are no other questions, thank you, Candy. Appreciate
Sure.
it. And thank Tom for us as well. We will move on to 10C, upcoming meetings. So our next meeting right here, same place, same time on Wednesday, August 28th. And with that, we will move on to agenda item 11, commissioner comments or announcements and requests for information. Anybody have anything that they would like to say?
I was just going to give a little kind of general update on some of the discussions we've been having. We haven't really had any breakthroughs or major things as far as looking at either additional help from the state or some sort of restructure on the structure of the commission. Good conversations have been happening, and we're kind of exploring some different avenues. More conversations that need to happen along those lines, and so we'll, it's no one's sitting still, and the situation changes from week to week or month to month, and that changes different people's appetite to be involved or ability to be involved. And so yeah, we're just continuing to push through and see what's possible, and if something concrete comes together, then we'll certainly bring it back. If it looks like there's some sort of legislative action, typically the deadline for, we'd need to figure out who would carry a bill if that was something that needed to happen. Typically that's early September is when they want to see those. And so if something does come together, I would imagine we would need to get that onto our next meeting agenda in that regard. I just don't know if that's going to come together or not. So.
Thank you for your work, you two, on that front. So I really appreciate that. I do need to let everybody know that my term does expire next Wednesday. So, well, so legally, I'm only on the commission through Wednesday. So there'll be obviously discourse now with my board regarding the CTA's appointment moving forward, but I don't have anything else I can share with the commission at this time, but I did want to let you all know that.
If you need me to take the gavel home just in case.
I'm going to slide it your way slowly.
So we're not stuck, not able to reconvene our next meeting.
Correct. Yeah. So Mihalis, yeah. Well, you guys will be totally good to go. So, and you'll be done, minutes, not hours, 5 minutes. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that for the public, I guess, purposes. So cool.
So don't call Dave, is what you're saying.
After Wednesday. Yes. I mean, you can call me. I just can't speak on behalf of the commission, but I could give you my 4 cents worth, from the Visit Carson City perspective. Maybe 3. Yeah. So cool. All right. So any other comments anybody wants to make? Okay. Hearing none, we will go ahead with our last public comment, item 12. Anybody want to say anything at this time? Okay, I'm not seeing any takers. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We're adjourned.